we're going to cover burns. Obviously, burns are very painful. Most often, we are dealing with minor burns, but more severe burns can also be treated and addressed with homeopathy. Most of you know there are different types of burns, and maybe you don't know all the different ways to tell or what they look like. So we're going to talk about that first. We have general burns, which are from heat, like fire, the oven, stoves. Scalds often involve hot liquid, and they can sometimes be over larger areas because the liquid moves. So when you touch something like the fire, obviously, or a stove, that's more of an isolated burn, where scalds do cover more body parts typically, or larger areas of the body. Burns from cold, so freezer burn or frostbite, they're not necessarily cold burns, but the damage that they do to the tissue is almost identical. That is very interesting. That's really cool. Also why I love homeopathy, right? If you went to allopathic medicine, those would be treated differently. So this is fun. There are first, second, and third degree burns. Electricity can cause burning. Radiation can cause burning. That can often come from cancer treatment. There's sore skin. And also, though, sunburn is considered a radiation burn. Allopathic medicine, the word allopathic literally means opposite treatment, opposite medicine, or opposite of the pathology medicine. The first thing allopathic medicine would say to do is to start cooling the burn as quickly as possible. Run it under cool water for at least 10 minutes or until the pain feels better. After the burn has been cooled sufficiently over quite a period of time, it's safe then to use calendula cream or gel if it's a minor burn. Homeopathy says to cool the burn with more of a lukewarm water than cold. So the first thing you're going to want to do is assess how bad the burn is. This sense of size, larger than the size of a person's hand, or if it's on the face, hands, feet, or if it's really deep, seek help. Don't just try to treat that all on your own. In most things, they talk about the rule of nines to identify if a burn needs help. Why is it called the rule of nines? Is there 9 different things?
Well, that's what I thought at first when I read it, but it's 9%. So for an adult, if the burn is bigger than the palm of your hand, that's 9% of your body.
Okay.
So, well, when I say adult, your hand, child, their hand. So the person who's gotten burned,
Okay.
9% of the palm of their hand. If it's bigger than that, then you need to get help.
Okay. That's interesting. That's a good one to know.
Mm.
Okay. So the rule of nines, a burn that's slightly bigger than your palm. Okay. That makes sense. Obviously, remove any jewelry or clothing near the burn unless it's stuck to it. So never peel stuck clothing off of a burn. That just makes me cringe. Oh.
Yeah.
Cover the burned area with kitchen cling film, so like shrink wrap,
Hmm.
or a clean material that's not fluffy, so like a clean plastic bag. That helps stop the moisture escaping and keeps the wound clean. If you're uncertain, seek medical help. The different types of burns, first degree burns, those only affect the epidermis, or the outer layer of the skin. At the burn site, it will be red, it'll hurt. It might look like it's dried up or slightly cooked, which is such a kind of gross way to say that, but that's fine. I know that makes sense. First degrees don't usually have blisters. A mild scald or mild contact with something that is just red hot and sore. It can still be really painful, but if there's no real deep tissue damage done, and there's usually not even blistering. A bad sunburn might be an example of a first degree burn, especially if it gets like a bad sunburn before it blisters. I've seen that look like wrinkly and dried up. And the type of burns that we might get in our kitchen are usually first degree. So just that outer layer of skin. Sometimes we can get second degree burns in the kitchen, also doing normal stuff. Those are also usually safe to address at home. Second degree burns, known as partial thickness burns, involve the epidermis, so the outer layer, and part of the dermis, so a little bit deeper. The burn site will also be red. There will very often be blisters, and it may be swollen or painful. So they're deeper. They're a little deeper under your skin, and they're very painful. And you can see immediately that the skin is broken and that there's layers that have been burned through. That's not just redness on the surface of the skin, but it's blistered and sore. You have to be careful with burns in first degree or second degree, especially if they cover a large area of your body, because your body can go into shock. The worse the blisters are, the longer the burn will take to heal. Sometimes even in a second degree burn, they may require skin grafting. Use your judgment. If you're unsure, like we said before, get help, go in. I mean, we're talking like you can still use homeopathy either way. If you go in, you can still use it to help with the healing. Don't hear us say you should just stay home and do all this at home. Obviously, you can get it checked out. Cool the wound, cover it with something like before, like cling wrap or plastic. And if you're unsure, go get some help. Third degree burns are the most severe. There is a category for fourth degree, but it's very rarely used because they go through every single layer of the skin down to the bone sometimes. And they're not painful because they've destroyed all the nerve tissue on the way down. They're curiously unpainful, but there may be pain as the nerves start to regenerate through the healing process. That type of burn could be waxy and white. The skin could be charred or dark brown. There may be blisters or flat blisters that look very dark that don't curl up into a blister.